16,000 melanomas diagnosed a year, which is virtually that's not many.
No.
If you think about the number of people. So it is not that common, though I think in the popular literature you'll think it's very common. There's two kinds of skin cancer. So there's melanoma skin cancer, which is derived from melanocytes, which come from moles. And then there's non-melanoma skin cancer. And non-melanoma skin cancer is the most common cancer of all time, which most people don't know. So I'm a basal cell carcinoma specialist. So I'm not a melanoma specialist, like I'm not a melanoma doctor. I'm a BCC doctor. And so non-melanoma skin cancer is basically your basal cell carcinomas and your squamous cell carcinomas. There's about 100,000 diagnosed in the UK a year, 100,000. Though melanoma is most likely partially due to sun exposure, we know that non-melanoma skin cancer is due to chronic sun exposure over your lifetime. With melanoma, we think it's due to high intensity sun exposure in a short amount of time. And
hence English people
going on holiday
getting
to
out.
Tenerife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even having a very hot period in
Exactly,
England.
in England, and burning every year,
Yes.
once a year. While with these non-melanomas, it tends to be chronic daily sun exposure. They tend to occur on the head and neck, which now basal cell carcinomas don't spread or kill you. They're not fatal, but basal cell carcinomas cause a huge amount of morbidity in the sense that if it's on your face and you cut it off someone's nose, they're left with disfigurement. And that can be much more, it's a huge impact on someone's quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about skin cancer is that it occurs equally in those under 55 as in over 55.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's the only cancer where we have that kind of diversity. So the youngest basal cell carcinoma I've ever seen is in a 19-year-old. And you would think,
wow,
how did that happen? Yeah, so there are these weird sporadic cases where he had no family history, he had no high intensity sun exposure history, it was just him. And he had a large BCC on his cheek. We don't know everything about these skin cancers. So if a 19-year-old can get a large basal cell carcinoma on their cheek and they live in, North England, that tells us there's something going on here we don't understand. But for this population in this country, that chronic daily sun exposure does put you in much higher risk of non-melanoma skin cancer. And what you're looking for there isn't these moles that are changing, but in an area of your skin that maybe is on your cheek, your nose, your forehead, that's not healing.
So you're visiting here about once a month?
Once a month I'm here for about a week, and I work every day, so I'm here all day, so you can definitely find us a lot to see me.
We need to get the word out.
Yeah, we need to get the word out. And I think with moles it's very important because these tend to occur in younger people. Melanomas, they are more devastating in the sense that they have a risk of causing problems in the long run. They can metastasize, there can be issues there. They are more serious, though much less common. The other side of the spectrum are these non-melanoma skin cancers, which aren't a huge issue, medically speaking, but can cause disfigurement if you leave them too long. So I'm a Mohs micrographic surgeon. That's why basal cell carcinoma is my area of specialty. So that I remove things from the head and neck. That's kind of what in the least kind of scarring way possible. Worst case scenario, best case scenario. So it's preparing the patient for that.
And scars in the sun are worse.
They get darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not so great.
It is really difficult when you're thinking about a scar when you live in a hot country.
Yes, absolutely. Especially if it's on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell in my last race actually, and I got. They're just.
Yeah, these scars are very hard. Anything on the knee, it doesn't heal.
I thought I'd be getting knee scars at my age.
Well, if you're a runner and you fall, that. There's nothing we can do to fix that. That's basically it. I mean, scar revision is a very tricky.
It's a running scar though, so that's okay.
It's like
a medal.
Yeah, it's a medal. It's like I felt I was running really fast.
It was 100 kilometers. It was.
You did you're an ultra runner?
Yeah, I just started.
The sunscreen issue with that.
It's really hard running because if I wear a cap, the sun comes straight in and sweating also here. You've got the sunscreen. You don't know if it's staying.
So do you use what kind of sunscreen? What sunscreen do you use?
50 or 100. I mean, some people say that's a good question. Actually, people say 100 isn't 100. There is no such thing as 100.
We know that SPF 50 blocks 99% of UV light. and SPF 30 blocks 97%. So the difference between 30 and 50 is 2% increase in protection.
We're talking about sunscreen because being a runner, I do wear a hat if I go out when the sun's up, but I tend to go in the evening when the sun's gone down and the sun comes in, hence the discoloring or whatever. And so we're talking about sunscreen. So I have a 50 and I have 100, and I tend to use Bioderma. That is one that I tend to use because I think it's a
reputable company. 50 blocks 99% of photons or UV light, and 30 blocks 97%. So the difference in a 15 is about 93%. So SPF refers to the amount of time you can stay in the sun without burning. So an SPF 15 will increase that time by 15. So it actually is a very funny rating. It only refers to UVB, which are your burning rays. So that's why you have to look at the UVA star rating. So you need a UVA star rating of 4 or 5 in order for your sunscreen to be.
So you can buy a 50 with a lesser star rating?
Yeah.
No one even knows.
No, no one knows this stuff. I know. In the UK,
does it have stars on it?
It does in the UK now. There's laws regarding that. The UV star rating has to be labeled. UVA rating. There's two kinds of sunscreen generally. There's physical and chemical sunscreen. So chemical sunscreens are your like avobenzone. So the ones when you read the label, it says all benzone, own, chemicals. There's always like 4 or 5 different ones. And how they work is they absorb the sunlight, and they by absorbing it, the sunscreen becomes photodegraded, so it breaks apart. It absorbs it onto top of your skin. You know how it says to reapply every 2 to 3 hours? That's not a sales gimmick. That's not to get you to buy more. That's because after 2 to 3 hours of direct sun exposure, the sunscreen photodegrades and it stops working. That's one thing. The mineral sunscreen, the physical sunscreens work differently. So those are your zinc oxides and your titanium dioxides, and those reflect light. So they don't photodegrade. So they create a shield, if you will, on your skin. They tend to be a little bit cosmetically unacceptable because they will often leave a white film on your skin.
Yes.
Because that's mineral. And it reflects light. If you swim or you kind of wipe it off, obviously it comes off. But if you weren't to do that, it should work until you wash it off, because it's literally a shield. For running, you can get waterproof mineral sunscreen. That you're gonna look like a bit of a ghost, but that would be your ideal thing.
Is that not good for your skin? Because I always think the thick stuff that it's going into my pores.
No, so the idea of it being comedogenic, so blocking your pores, causing acne, well, I mean, you don't have acne, but for those patients who are concerned about that, no. So the mineral sunscreen particles, they just sit on top of your skin. The idea of comedogenic, or things blocking your pores, is a very misunderstood area of dermatology. So that's a whole topic on its own. I wouldn't worry about that from like a sunscreen point of view. Also, chemical sunscreen cause 2% of all irritant dermatitis. So chemical sunscreens cause a lot of rashes in people. So people who come and say, "Oh, I'm allergic to sun," they're probably allergic to the sunscreen that they're using, because most commercial sunscreens are going to be chemical based. So what you want to do is look for a 100% mineral sunscreen, which you might not like the look of, though they are very good, and that's when they're very good. That would be what I would always suggest. So the type of sunscreen you use is very important, the UVA rating and the SPF value, but the most important thing of all is the volume you apply. The SPF rating refers to the correct volume, so you only achieve that if you use the right volume. So for your whole face and your ears and your neck, it's 2.5 mils to achieve the stated.
That's quite a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a lot. So you need a teaspoon.
You do that?
Well, I don't really go in the sun.
Okay.
I stay inside.
But if you did, you would measure it?
I would measure it. And actually, I have, I'm crazy. Though I see skincare all day, every day, so skin cancer. So for me, it's like, I'm a freak. But I would, so I get little samples. Bioderma does little 3 ml samples.
Yes,
so,
I have a few of those.
Exactly. So those 3 ml samples, that's your volume.
Whoa.
For your whole face.
That lasts me a month.
What, the 3 ml? Okay, so someone's underdosing their sunscreen. But the other thing is, if you're using a chemical sunscreen, then you need like 4 of those in a day in your running pack with you, and you cover yourself in it. Yeah, so this is the volume thing is the biggest problem. That's why I hate spray sunscreens, because you can't measure that.
No.
So for your whole body, it's 36 mils. 36 mils. It's shot glass.
And do they have a lifetime sunscreen?
No.
They don't?
No. You can usually use them up to 3 years after opening. So this whole thing with you have to rebuy sunscreen every 6 months, that is a sales gimmick.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. It doesn't die in the bottle. There's so many preservatives in sunscreen. These things last forever. Take it to Mars and come back and it'll be fine. But you shouldn't be keeping it that long.
No. Well, I'm going to have to rethink that. My husband has talked recently about eating for sunscreen. Is it really dark green things? Or?
So I think that's referring to antioxidants. So if you ingest antioxidants, the theory is that it will help protect your skin from DNA damage. A theory that's probably totally incorrect. Then when you get the UV rays oxidizing, causing damage, the antioxidants will stop that process because it's the oxidation that causes damage to the cells. Now
But this has not been proven.
total baloney. Yeah. Don't eat kale thinking that then you don't need sunscreen. That is not going to work. So it's all about volume. So 2.5 ml for your face, 36 ml for your entire body. That's a shot glass full of sunscreen.
I think there's no one in Dubai who's going to do that.
No, I don't think so. Especially not with like a chalky mineral. No, you look like a white.
Are these beach clubs? Can you imagine? And a brand. Do you have a favorite brand?
So I'm very not keen on promoting specific brands. Though I have to say something because patients do want to know. I have an issue with the skincare industry as a whole. I think they're over marketed anyway. But I guess the higher quality ones are not necessarily the more expensive ones. So the 100% mineral sunscreen that I normally would recommend is Color Science, which is an SPF 50 and it's 100% mineral.
I don't think we have Color Science.
No, you have to order online. In the UK, you have to order online as well. So that is one of the brands I like. I like La Roche-Posay. In the States, you can buy a mineral. You cannot buy that in Europe. I've already asked L'Oreal to please let us have La Roche-Posay mineral, but they haven't brought it for whatever reason. Sunscreen is a very regulated area of skincare, so there are lots of laws. That's why they can't bring everything. But no, I would look for 100% mineral. It doesn't have to be expensive just because it's 100 pounds or 500 dirham for a bottle. That doesn't mean it's any better. I would always push patients towards a mineral sunscreen.
And does it actually say on the outside?
It should say zinc. Well, no, it might not. But one of the first 2 or 3 ingredients should be either zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, and those are your minerals. Okay. So that's what I would always kind of do that. I don't care if you buy it I don't care how much it costs or where it came from. Just that's what I care about. So
first 2 ingredients.
First, it's usually water and then zinc oxide, titanium dioxide.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to look for. Well, thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for coming by.
Very informative, and I hope that we have cleared up some things. If you have any questions, then I can always send them through to you, and we'll try and clear them up for you.